Hi guys, right, today I've just realised that today's video might be a bit of a waste of time because I'm in a Skoda Superb. Now, if you think about it, the average age of a Skoda Superb buyer is about 76, and the average age of somebody watching a car video on YouTube is about 26. So if you were to do a Venn diagram, you'd have two circles at opposite sides of the page with no overlap whatsoever. But anyway, I'm just hoping that there's some weirdo out there like me who is interested in these big, boring, quirky, old man's cars. I'm sure there is. In a world of 6 billion people, there must be another weirdo like me out there that gets giddy about these things. So when I was growing up, Skodas were a bit of a joke. They were the laughing stock, really. They were cheap and nasty cars from the Eastern Bloc, similar to Ladas, Trabants, Yugos. They were just garbage cars built by communists for people who sadly had no other choice. Then when the Berlin Wall fell, Volkswagen started showing an interest in the company. Then by the year 2000 they owned a controlling share in Skoda and started steering them in a more positive direction. In fact, they pulled off the most impressive rebrand in the history of the world, I think. They launched a range of cars that were basically just budget VWs. And they were offering these Skodas at about 20% less than the equivalent VW model. So people's opinion of Skoda just gradually changed. Then a few years later, in 2008, came the biggest global recession since 1929. And all of a sudden people were more interested in these cars because they were much cheaper than the VWs or anything else, actually. So people were looking to save money, and if you could buy a Skoda Octavia for 20% less than a VW Passat, which was basically the same car, why wouldn't you? And what a clever business model that is. And that's the reason that today Skoda is the VW Group's second most successful brand. Now, what's odd about the Superb is that Skoda's VW's budget brand. So I get that there's a Skoda Fabia, which is basically a Polo, but 20% less. I get that there's an Octavia that's basically a Passat, or a Citigo that's basically a VW up. That all makes sense. But why would a budget brand make a limousine, basically, which is what the Superb is? They've made a luxury car without a premium badge. It just doesn't make any sense. It's quite a risky move, that, I think. Who was the target audience with this car? I just don't understand it. Anyway, it was a success. Surprisingly. I mean, take the rear legroom, for example. You get more legroom in this than you do in a Mercedes S-Class or a Jag XJ. And I'm not just guessing that, I've measured it. In the rear doors, they give you an umbrella, just like a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The interior of this car is genuinely upmarket. Everything you touch feels like it's built to a standard rather than to a budget, which you rarely get with cheap cars. I've got electric memory seats, sat-nav, heated seats, full leather, cruise control, auto lights. Just get loads of optional extras. Now, the Superb comes with a range of engines, starting with a 1.4 litre petrol, which is a turbocharged petrol engine, which is actually quite impressive, all the way to a 3.6 litre V6, which comes in all-wheel drive. They do a few different diesel options too, and this one is a 2 litre turbo diesel, but it's the PD engine, which is renowned for being bulletproof, basically. This engine could withstand a nuclear war, I think. It's really popular with VW enthusiasts. It's 140 horsepower and I've got a 6-speed manual, but you get plenty of torque, so even though this car is quite big, it's never really lacking in power. It is also very good on fuel. Averaging, let me check. Yeah, I've now done a few miles in this car and I've been averaging 43 miles per gallon. For such a big car, and it's nearly 5 metres long, this car, it handles really well. On these twisty roads, it handles more like a small, sporty saloon car, which is impressive. There's minimal body roll. The steering's precise. The gear changes are short and snappy. What a miserable day up here it is. I've never owned or driven one of these cars before, and I just assumed that it would be like a Peugeot 607 or a Hyundai Sonata. I just thought it'd be a big, forgettable, wobbly saloon, and it's not at all. The only time you're reminded of this car's sheer size is when you're trying to parallel park in the centre of town. Any other time it just feels like a compact saloon. It's got lots of quirky features, this car too. Now, take the boot for example. It looks like a standard saloon, but then if you press another button, it turns into a hatchback. And look at the size of the boot. It'd make a really good taxi, this car, actually. Now, reliability-wise, it's as good as it gets. This one's a 2008, so it's 10 years old, and it's done 116,000 miles. And apart from a little annoying rattle on the front end there, which I'm guessing is an anti-roll bar bush or a track rod end, it drives really well. It pulls really well. Another bonus with this car, because the badge is considered cheap or average at best, nobody's going to get jealous or envious of you while you're driving it. When this car was new, it was about £30,000, which is the same price as a well-specced Mercedes C-Class or a middle-of-the-range E-Class. But with this, you know that no one's going to key it or spit at it while it's parked up. It just completely flies under the radar of those horrible green-eyed people. Now, you can pick up these cars used for less than £5,000, which is a bargain, really. It's such a lot of car for the money. I can't understand why VW never introduced the Skoda brand to the US either. You'd think in the wake of the Dieselgate scandal that a new brand would be a fresh start, really, for the VW group. And the lineup now of new Skodas is quite impressive. Now, I'm not a big VW fan at all. I just think they're a bit forgettable, really, a bit boring, a bit bland. But I'm really impressed with this car. So thank you once again for watching. If you've got any questions, leave them below in the comments. And yeah, make sure you subscribe because I've got plenty more videos on the way.